How's it going, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and AT&T wasn't going to let Verizon get too far ahead in the 4G LTE game. They're rolling out their own version of 4G LTE, and it's available in 9 markets as of today. Well, they have to have some devices to go with those markets, so now they've introduced 2 4G LTE devices, one of which is the Samsung Galaxy S2 Skyrocket. Now, this device is very similar to the Galaxy S2 on T-Mobile. It's got a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz processor, a 4.5-inch Super AMOLED Plus display, an 8-megapixel camera, and heck, it even looks the same, or looks pretty similar to the one on T-Mobile. That said, it has 4G LTE capabilities built in, so if you're in one of those 9 markets, you can take advantage of it right now. Now, that said, it goes up against the HTC Vivid on AT&T, another 4G LTE phone, which is $50 cheaper. Is it worth the extra $50? And heck, is it even worth doing the extra money for AT&T's 4G LTE? We'll find out that and more in the full review of the Skyrocket. But first, a special thanks to my boys at Best Buy. They hook us up with phones just like this for use during One Paw Bandit games. So when you go into Best Buy Mobile, you won't deal with rebates. You'll walk out the door paying $249.99. Don't deal with paperwork. Don't deal with waiting 8 to 10 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks, whatever it is now. And you don't have to worry about debit cards or dealing with any mess like that. You'll walk out the door at Best Buy Mobile without dealing with rebates. Now, let's get into it. Skyrocket, a member of the Galaxy S2 family. Is this one just as cool as all the others, or should you go with the HTC Vivid? We'll find out starting right now. So I covered the HTC Vivid, which was one of AT&T's first 4G LTE devices. Well, they released 2. The Vivid was one, and then here's the other one, the Samsung Galaxy S2 Skyrocket. It's available now from AT&T, but it's $50 more expensive than the HTC Vivid. It comes out at $249.99, and specs-wise, it's packing quite a punch, at least on paper. It's packing a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz Snapdragon processor, has a 4.5-inch Super AMOLED Plus display, an 8-megapixel camera on the back with 1080p HD video recording. It has a 1,850 milliamp hour battery, so a much bigger battery than the Vivid's 1,620 milliamp hours. And over here you have a front-facing camera, and you're also packing Android 2.3.5 with Samsung's TouchWiz version 4.0 on this bad boy. So it's a good-looking device. It's a little bit bigger, and it's one of those things where you're like, you know, they just released the Galaxy S2, and a month later, they've already released an update on their own network to the Galaxy S2. So this is kind of like the Galaxy S 2.5, even though it's branded, obviously, as a member of the Galaxy S2 family. So the Skyrocket, available now, 4G LTE capable in any of those 9 markets which have LTE. But let's take a look at it, because some things have changed on this device as well. You got your 4 capacitive buttons down here, menu, home, back, and search, and then out of the box you get the typical AT&T stuff. Code scanner, family map, navigator, ready to go, which is actually new to the Skyrocket. And let's see what ready to go is. Fast and easy phone setup, problem solved. And then Google Books, you have featured apps, you have Keys Air, Kai's Air, MOG Music, Movies, AT&T Movies, you have My AT&T, Need for Speed Shift, Quick Light, Social Hub, and then Media Hub, which both of those are Samsung pre-installed applications that kind of give you, like it sounds, a Media Hub where you can download stuff. Kind of a similar ecosystem to, or at least working towards a similar ecosystem as iTunes. So that's something to keep in mind. You've got not Wells Fargo, that's something I have pre-installed. Visual voicemail, and then YP Mobile. Now, the benefit to all of these AT&T applications, they have listened to their customers, and not only can you sideload applications now on AT&T devices. Remember a couple, actually it's been less than that, about a year ago, when the AT&T high-end Android devices, you couldn't sideload applications. It was a big stink. A bunch of people got frustrated. Well, AT&T is allowing sideloading of applications now, but also you can come in here and manage your applications, and you can remove the AT&T stuff. So if you want to uninstall, you can uninstall Family Map, and kind of clear up some of the space on the device if you don't want that AT&T bloatware. So that's a nice touch, but again, running Samsung's TouchWiz 4.0, and if you're coming from something like the Infuse 4G, or maybe the Droid Charge on Verizon, or something with an older version of TouchWiz, you need to take a look at this and really analyze it, because it's a much better version than 3.0 ever was. I mean, they made some subtle changes and then not so subtle changes as well. Like, take a look at wallpaper, or when I open up widgets, for example, and it has 7 home screens, by the way, but I can go over here to edit, actually not edit, just kidding, and press and hold, and it brings up add to home. I can add widgets, folders, shortcuts, or wallpapers, typical Android, but I can actually scroll up here between my 7 home screens back and forth, and I can add widgets from here. So you can see this design looks different. The way you scroll back and forth between the widgets looks different. And then when I want to do one, I can pull up AccuWeather and bring it right up here on the screen and it pops right up. So super easy. And then what I do like about TouchWiz 4.0 widgets as well, and this is something that's unique to TouchWiz 4 and Motorola's custom UI, you can customize the size of a lot of the widgets. So you want it to be a little bit smaller, maybe you want it to be that size, maybe you want it to be that size. You can customize it around, so when you're in an area that's kind of tight in terms of space, like you look at this and you're like, well, on an HTC device I can't fill that in because HTC widgets, they're beautiful, but they're very, very big. You don't have that problem with TouchWiz 4. You can fit in maybe 1 or 2 small widgets there, fill up the screen, and really maximize that 4.5-inch display. So you can see same stuff here. AT&T network ID. You got your shortcuts on the network, on the notifications bar, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, flight mode, and screen rotation. And then again, over here the dock's a little bit different. You'll notice how quickly it moves versus TouchWiz 3.0. So if you're coming from, again, the Infuse, the Droid Charge, take a look, 1, at how there's no color in the background behind the apps, or the dock down here, and 2, how quickly it moves. They've really done a good job in comparison to TouchWiz 3.0. Huge improvements on the design front. So let's take a look at messaging while we're in here. We'll go to the Welcome to AT&T message, and I'll show you. Now, one thing I will say, and I've actually customized the font. One of the benefits of Samsung devices, it's pretty easy to customize the font. It comes with a couple. It comes with like Choco Cookie. I think it's Helvetica, which is what I have on this one right now, and the default font that Samsung pre-installed. So I have it on Helvetica. And again, you know, portrait mode keyboard, landscape mode keyboard, but because it has a 4.5-inch display, it's pretty easy to type on in landscape mode. So you have that person inevitably that's coming from a BlackBerry, it's coming from maybe the Evo Shift 4G, something with a physical QWERTY keyboard, or if you're coming on AT&T, maybe moving over from one of AT&T's BlackBerries, let's say. Well, you know, you're moving over, you're like, I'm not sure if I can do this on-screen keyboard stuff, I'm used to the physical keyboards. It's going to be an easy transition, or at least the easiest transition on a 4.5-inch display. Very easy to type on, even with somebody that has larger thumbs. So we're going to make something exciting. The Quick Brown Fox, what's the Fox going to do? It's the weekend. Quick Brown Fox, hit the boulevard, and think, and kissed a bunch of, I don't know. Quick Brown Fox hit the boulevard and kissed a bunch of squirrels. How about that? Quick Brown Fox hit the boulevard and kissed a bunch of squirrels. You know, it's Friday. He's going to be wild this weekend. He hit the boulevard and kissed a bunch of squirrels. So pretty easy to write on. And then you get 3 keyboards out of the box. What you're looking at right now is the Android 2.3, the Gingerbread keyboard. You get Samsung's keypad, and you get Swipe pre-installed out of the box as well. So a lot of options there. But so that's quick and easy on the keyboard. Let's take a look at the web as well. Now, this is something that interested me. This is packing the same processor, or a similar processor, as T-Mobile's Galaxy S2. This is one that branched away from the Exynos thing and moved over to Snapdragon. So it's a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon CPU. And, you know, the T-Mobile one, there was some noticeable lag in comparison. You know, you put an Exynos processor beside the Snapdragon, noticeable lag between the Galaxy S2 on T-Mobile and the Galaxy S2 Epic 4G Touch on Sprint, for example. I'm not seeing the same amount of lag, though, on this one. I don't know if they've optimized TouchWiz 4, or, you know, the processor family is slightly different, if I recall, on the AT&T Skyrocket, or if they just changed it, made it more friendly with TouchWiz 4. I don't know what it is, but they've done a decent job, and it's not. I see some stutter from time to time. I'll tell you where I see it, particularly in the browser. Have a look at this once the page loads, but this is where I really see the stutter in comparison to the Exynos processor. But, and also another thing, this is running 4G right now, but it's running HSPA Plus, which AT&T also calls 4G. If it were running LTE, you'd see an LTE indicator just below 4G, so it's pretty, you know, quick and easy to distinguish. So you can see here, I'm pinching to zoom, and you see how it just kind of popped out, kind of weird like that. It's just been doing a bunch of little weird gestures in the browser, and that's really the only place I've seen some noticeable slowdown. Right now, you know, pinch to zoom seems to be pretty responsive, and it's moving real time with my fingers, but again, I see those little random things like that where it kind of spazzes out, if you will, and then automatically goes back out, and I'm thinking, what in the world is it doing? So I do like the, let's go up here and look at the HTC Rezound video, for example, and let's say I'm in the middle of that and I want to open up a second window. Well, I can do it. I can open up my new window, and then I can go back to Phone Dog, and you can see it leaves me, or picks me up right where I left off, and it's pretty quick and pretty easy. Transitions, not as good as Motorola's UI. Motorola's UI adds some nice transitional elements. It kind of fools your eye into thinking it's a little faster than it actually is, in which, you know, when we do a dogfight between this and the Droid Razr, I'll certainly cover that. But you can see here pretty blocky transitions, and ignore that advertisement's for whatever reason catching up. So you can see that's what it looks like, but it's still pretty fast for a dual-core device. And let's go in here and take a look actually we already did the Windows. So yeah, pretty fast for a dual-core device, and I've certainly been pleased with it. Now I want to show you the call the call app as well, just to give you an idea. Not a whole lot's changed here, but I always like to focus on these buttons down here to show you the differences. Now you have visual voicemail on this device. You have, of course, the call button, and you have the back button. It's strategically placed right in the middle. So you dial, 611, for example, hit send, and it's going to easily, your finger naturally moves to the center button. So island keys, you got your logs, you have your contacts. So I can go into Billy Bob, for example, and show you Billy Bob. This is what the contact interface looks like. It's not nearly as advanced as HTC Sense, and if you watch my videos, especially recently, I really praise HTC for having a great organizational structure with their contacts. Whereas with this, you do get the history, you get the activities in the media tab, but it's still just not as expansive as HTC's, where you can go in and say, okay, we sent these messages all at this time, or here's the call history just for Billy Bob, or here are the emails just for Billy Bob. It does a really good job of organizing. But hey, you can still put in notes, groups, you can assign a ringtone, you can see the contacts, and of course you can call and message directly from the contact screen. Then you have favorites as well, and then you have groups over here, so you can scroll over and see that little blue indicator to let me know that there are additional tabs on the other side that are being rolled off the screen. So it's definitely an improvement again over TouchWiz 3.0. Not quite up to par with Sense 3.0 and 3.5 in terms of organization, but again, I just can't get over the dramatic improvement on this versus TouchWiz 3. So let's take a look at the market. And if you're coming back to Android after a period of time, or maybe you just haven't been using the market or whatever, the market's undergone a reformation over the past couple of months. The design looks different. You'll notice this black and gray color scheme. You'll notice also that apps, games, books, and movies are all combined into one. So I can go in here to apps, for example, and show you. And again, transitions seem to be relatively quick. And like I said, that processor speed kind of worried me, but I'm not seeing the same issue on this one that I saw on the Galaxy S2. And battery life has been pretty interesting as well, which I'll talk about in part 2. So a little hint that you need to watch part 2. So Facebook for Android, for example, I pop it open, I can share, I can search for something else, update, install. It would show screenshots right here if there were any. There they are. Screenshots are available, allow automatic updating, so we're going to go ahead and allow that. And I can see rate and review, what's new, description, reviews, and what people also viewed. So it's all kind of organized, developer information, all very organized in a convenient, easy to read way. And then of course I can come back and download a book if I want to, or download a game, all from the Android market.